Thank you. Well, it's great to be here. Thank you for getting up so early and leaving Virginia. Microsoft, of course, has a long-time presence here, working with a great number of partners, and it's great to have a lot of them involved in the breakfast this morning. I thought I'd talk about where software's come and some of the big changes it'll be bringing about in the decades ahead. And basically, I'll explain that software is going to change things more in the years ahead even than it has in the last few decades. And in my view, that's saying a lot because we really have come a long ways. There are over 1 billion personal computers in use today. There's several billion phones with more and more computing power built into those in use today. We're getting a higher and higher percentage of people connected up to the internet. And the revolutionary effect that this has, not just on the way we do business, but the way we communicate, the way we entertain ourselves, the way we educate ourselves, it is very, very profound. Now, why has this area of endeavor changed so much where other areas don't change at the same rate? Well, there's two magic ingredients that go into it. One magic ingredient is the hardware, and that's exemplified by the microprocessor itself. And in fact, it was the invention of the microprocessor back in 1970 that my high school friend Paul Allen saw, and he brought to me and he showed it to me and explained this prediction by Gordon Moore that we'd have doubling in power every 2 years. And he and I understood exponentiation pretty well, and we thought, wow, this is going to change computing. And we were fairly surprised that the companies involved still thought of the computing as this big, expensive device. And so we decided that we'd get involved in helping change that and bringing the computer to be a tool of the individual. And that brings us to the other magic element, which is software. Software's ability to be entirely flexible, and if it's done properly, to let even end users organize their information or even program their activities in the straightforward way that they want to do it. So it's done properly, it provides a level of empowerment that you don't see anywhere else. And that's what came together in the 1970s for the creation of the first personal computer. Many people date the explosion of personal computing to 1981. That's, of course, when IBM came in, when we got 16-bit computing. Others would look at the early 90s when the computers became far more powerful. That's when dedicated devices like word processors that themselves were microprocessor-based but were completely replaced by the idea of general-purpose computing. Other people might say that the big milestone was the arrival of the internet, the ability to connect the machines together and think of it as a way that all the world's information would be easily available. Well, we built on every one of those advances, built on them really in the same spirit that we had the day the company was founded in 1975. And that is that by providing a software platform and giving tools to software developers everywhere and letting the solutions that come out of that be put into the hands of partners who could shape these solutions for customers of all types, large and small, government, non-government, education, all the different industries that are out there, that by working with partners in fostering the growth of the software industry, something very, very dramatic could happen. And every year we build on the success of previous years. There's no one individual year that is particularly unique versus the others. But I do think if we take the next 10 years as a whole, what I call the second digital decade, that in fact the kind of difference that we'll have at the end of that period versus what we have today is very, very dramatic. That is, the year-by-year changes as they accumulate will be very substantial. Now, already today we see some things that are changed. If we think of photography, we don't think of it as going off and getting film developed. If we think of music, we very little think of it as a physical storage medium, but rather organizing our own music and having it digitally on many, many devices. But still, there are great realms of activity that digital approaches have not yet touched on. We think about going to meetings and taking notes. Most people are still using paper and pencil. We've got some leading edge users using the tablet PC, and they, of course, they're predicting what will happen 10 years from now, but that's not a widespread thing. When we watch TV today, it's largely a broadcast medium where the show that we watch, whether it's the ads or the information presented, is the same as it is for everyone else. And if we want some video that's not very popular, say our child's sports activities, we have to go to a PC, browse the internet in some special way. There's no integration of the video experience of the mainstream entertainment video, the cable satellite experience, with that PC experience. If we look out into the future, that will change utterly. That is, when you watch the news, it'll have less of the things you're not interested in, more of the things you care about. The ads will engage you in topics based on what you might be interested in buying or knowing about. So take any experience on TV, watching the election and seeing what stories are important to you, watching the Olympics and moving between the things that you find interesting and that you have a background in. TV will be based on the internet, and it will be an utterly different thing. Even in areas like telephony, we still have the traditional PBX, the handset on the desktop, fairly hard to use. Most people never use those commands. It's a device with its own directory, its own setup, and it's not very facile in terms of handling video, letting people edit things, understanding the relationship between people, and integrating with the other worlds, the worlds of email, the worlds of the mobile phone. And so even telephony, which is such a basic thing, will be utterly changed over this time period. The idea of things like Roundtable, where you can video conference and see people at a distance, or setting up documents so that you're working on those together. That'll just be the common way things are done. The ability to take meetings and not only see them at a distance, but also record them and have people navigate through them with the automatic speech recognition that will have taken place. Some of the profound changes that we see are that we'll be able to take things that had to be done nearby you on a computer that was either right there or in a very local data center. Many of those things will move out and be done in the internet itself. We often talk about that as being in the cloud, or services, software delivered as a service instead of the typical license where you install it locally. That won't replace any of the things we have today. We'll still have lots of local computing power. We'll still have data centers. But certain things, for example, the mapping services. We have Virtual Earth. Other people have equivalents. That capability, which is based on a very, very large database, you don't want to have to copy that down to individual machines. It makes sense to have that as an internet service. And many scenarios having to do with dealing with heavy load or disaster recovery or just geo-distributed backup, by providing services in the cloud that complement the on-premise activity, we'll be able to take the complexity of IT that's very high still today and make some of that less expensive, and so you don't have to have quite as much on-site expertise in dealing with those things.